Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about L6270 all-in-one Epson printer. So let's dive deep into it. So today we are talking about this puppy. I bought this quite recently, so to say, and I have gone through the honeymoon period and all that jazz. So now I think I have a bit more grounded reality and we can talk about it. So I bought an all-in-one with ink tank. This was a compulsory requirement for me. I'm not gonna go back to cartridge system, and yes, they are still in manufacturing. And I need a front loading paper tray. Now that may not seem as important to many people, but it is one of those things that for people who know the significance of it, shut up, take money. And you will never see any commercial grade printer or enterprise grade printer without it. There is a reason for that. Like if you can keep paper in enclosed space, dust free, and do not give too much surface area for moisture to play, make love with it, outcome would be good prints. And dust are specifically where, because your print nozzle head is very close to the paper. So if you have a big dust particle, it can actually jam and damage the print head. It has happened. That's why people are like, no, we learned it the hard way that thou shall always have paper in enclosed spaces. So front loading gives you that option where your paper is not exposed to anything, everything is fine. And it also makes your life much easier, because side loading, back loading, all those things, unless you are doing roller printing, basically where you have giant roller and you just printing it out and you have a slicer slicing it. In other than that, most of the time front loading is always better. Having a big cassette of paper enclosed, always better. So that's there. A4 borderless printing, meaning I pay for generally this sort of paper. So I want to use hold the paper. I paid for the paper. I do not want my borders. I paid for it. And again, this makes it economical enough where I can print hundreds of these. So fundamentally, I wanted borderless. That was the critical aspect for me. It has to be A4 borderless. There are many printers that claim borderless, but they are not A4. But I buy paper in A4, so I needed that. Auto duplex printing. Now this is my emotional baggage. When I was in class 11, there was a psychology book that was not available anywhere. We had actually tried to print it, and unfortunately that printer, of course, it was like very cheap desktop printer, DexJet printer as they back in the days they used to call it. And basically literally, I'm not even joking, duplex at that point, like print all one side and flip it and put it there. One paper slipped, consequences, every other papers were like, misaligned, so to say. The paper numbers were like 4 5, it became like 15 25, like paper misaligned. So I needed this is the modern duplex standard. So it will pull the paper back in and print it out, so you will never have any issue. And it had color LCD. So this is another aspect of it. A tool is only as good as its user interface. If you can use it without going too much hassle, you will use it. If it's a very hard thing to use, I can guarantee you, you're just gonna have like, nope. You won't even know it that you are doing it, but you will know it. So fundamentally, I'm not gonna go back to like freaking, I'm not joking. There are HP printers of similar sort of price range, which has like a freaking number display where it's like 5, 6. Like you have to memorize those things. Of course, if you are running a shop or a professional job, you may become memorable. But I'm like, no, I'm paying that way too much for that sort of crappy interface. So that was another requirement. I needed a good interface. Unfortunately, S1 makes, I don't know, 50,000 models. So there is, if I go two numbers above this, like instead of 6270, I go to 6290. That has the same thing but with a touchscreen. I'm pretty sure that's the same goddamn hardware. They just like put a touchscreen or activator. That would be the worst thing. If I open the circuit board and it's the same, it's just like software has disabled it. That would be bad. But it is like the least worst option, so to say. And basic scanner with automatic document feeder. Now again, I needed a scanner. I did not need an automatic document feeder, but it had it, so I'm like, okay, good with it. Now I paid around 25,800 rupees for it. I bought it in 13 May 2023. Now you may pay more or less. So, and be mindful, do not directly convert it, because again, based on your location's tax, you may find this printer to be super cheap or maybe idiotically expensive. So directly converting rupees to dollar may not make that much sense. So L6270. So this is the puppy that I have bought. So let's talk about the hardware. So hardware is 1200 dpi. Everything in this puppy is designed for 1200 dpi. You can scan at 1200 dpi, you can print at 1200 dpi. But if you pay attention to the box, they will try to troll you. So they have two numbers, true number and troll number. So true number is always the smaller one, and then they have troll number, that is 1200 to 2400 dpi, that is scan resolution up to. And true number is basically 1200 dpi, and troll number is 4800 dpi in printing. Yeah, no. The smaller number is always the hardware number. The bigger number is motion interpolated, meaning it's gonna scan. Scanning is done in x and y coordinates, right? So you have the scanner itself, that is one axis, let's say x. The y axis, you are moving it through the motor. Now you are moving it physically, and you have a motor and encoder, so that means you can move it in very smaller increments. Awesome, you can increase the resolution. Here's the deal, it's not a point that you are moving like this, it's a line that you're moving. So you're getting a lot of resolution in one axis, like this axis, awesome, that 2400 or even 9000. You can go bonkers there, but here's the deal, this line is not a mess. So computer stretches the image, as in like it gets a stretch image and it makes it square again, the pixel basically makes it square again, then it interpolates it. So reality is, no, it cannot give you more than 1200 dpi. You can try it, but all you're going to get is digital noise at that point in time. And if you are directly thinking of basically scanning negatives and all that jazz, yeah, good luck with that. It's not gonna work. So that's why hardware is 1200 dpi. Do you need that much? For office work, hell no. For printing work, hell no. Yes, deal. Flat out. Even photo printings are generally done at 300 dpi. Can you go higher than that? Yes. Does that make sense? That's up to you. But generally, if a printer can give you a quality print at 300 dpi, shut up, take money. Most of the printing publications are done at that sort of a DPI. Yes, in some scenarios you can go higher than that, but it's generally not recommended or desired. So 1200 dpi, more than good, adequate enough, unless you are talking about scanning part. There we do have needs for higher than that, but that's the printing part. Email printing for remote use, that's like awesome. There are many ways of doing remote printing, but more complicated the system is, the more reliant that system is, the clunkier it becomes. So you have Apple system, which I will not talk about because again, I don't have Apple ecosystem. And other things where like you do this and that's like, no, I wanted something simple. This has that. You just send an email. Now be mindful, the email is a basically email server that is maintained by Epson. Of course, your printer is connected through internet. Internet connects to Epson. Epson has a server which has the email address for you, so to say. It's not your email address. The printer will create its own email address in their server. So printer, basically the email goes to their server. That server forwards it to your printer. Your printer prints it out. Everything is awesome. But be mindful, if you are one of those individuals who only wants to print basically the attachments, you may find the printer's default tendency where it's like, print out the email, then the attachment. So even if you send like, just sending the receipt, print out the receipt, it will say the full line would be there at 12 a.m. at this email sender from this, and it's like, it's wasteful. And I truly get annoyed the fact that it does not use duplex function. So if it's like, hey, if it should have a basic detection function where it's like, hey, I'm using one paper. So what if I use duplex, one side email, another side attachment, both party will be happy. That's not there. Thankfully, that function can be disabled. I have figured it out. It is just an option. Print email body, disable it, so only attachments can print. So that's awesome. That means I can give anyone email address, they can print it. But what about abuse, right? Your email, let's say printer email leaks, everybody can send it? No, you can have a simple function there where you have a filter list. For example, you have dad, brother, basically people who directly acquainted to, you can have them in the filter list. Any email sender that is not matching that list, noped. So that's there. Spill-free keyed ink tank, meaning ink tank is now 10-year-old technology. So back in the days, we had pouring tanks, basically, you're just like, but at that point in time, you're hoping that you never mix up the color, which you only have to mess up once and then you have to flush your whole printer. Good luck with that. So people have learned it the hard way that it must be what you call dummy-proof system. So Epson is the first company that came up with the keyed system, basically. Keyed meaning unless you are brute forcing it, it will only go into one slot. So slots are keyed, you cannot mix it. Even if you give it a child and all you have to tell them is like, don't force it if it does not go. That's it. That's all you have to say. It's like, hey, match the words, letter, color, all that. So Y color, basically Y letter, yellow color, all these there, and it will not go. And it has also double pipes there, so it will only fill up as much as it needs to. There is one thing you have to understand, all the ink tanks are designed precisely to absorb this much ink, precisely. So you're like, hey, I print, filled it, but you start the printer, it will consume all the ink a little bit. The ink is going into the tubes because the tube is long, so it will consume a lot of ink. So you will still have, when you are doing the first filling, you will have a little bit of ink left. Do not worry about it. It's designed very precisely. I'm like surprised how precise it is. It's like, then you pour it, completely gone. Be mindful, you do not want them ink to be here for long. It will dry out. So you do not want it there. So spill-free keyed ink tank, that's awesome. Now, if you want to know the chemistry of it, these are generally pigment. These color ones are dye. Dye give you a better color, but lower longevity, and pigment gives you much more crisp. For document, crisp is needed. So that's why if you buy Epson's photo printers, they will have this black plus photo black. That photo black is the same black color but with dye chemistry. Benefit of that chemistry is it blends much more effectively with photos. So contrast on those photos are, so that's there. Then we have to understand swappable maintenance plans. This is the prime reason I never recommend anyone to buy HP. If you do, all printers, be mindful, this is going back to cartridge era. All of them always have maintenance pad. You tear it apart, there will be a maintenance pad. Generally, cartridge printer was such a big cancer that people used to throw it out before they ever got a point where it's like, yeah, maintenance pad cannot absorb any, any more ink. And the early variants of ink tanks, they also did not have this issue. There was an ironic time where Epson created a printer, everything was there. They literally built this box so you can swap it, but they forgot to put chip in it. So they had no way. And literally their manual said like, if you power clean it, it will shorten your lifespan, as in like printer's lifespan. What does that mean? That simply means power supplying, where that ink is going, it's going into maintenance pad. They had no way of basically knowing that this is like old one or new one, because all it needs for the chip is just a counting chip. It just counts like, hey, my counter, fresh new chip, 50,000. The printer will keep the count. Okay, 50,000, I sent 10,000 there, 20,000 there, 30,000, 45,000. Okay, now it's going to send an alert to user, replace your system. Then it detects 50,000, user has not replaced, it stops your printer. Printer is dead. But somehow they forgot that. So now, thankfully, this is a chipped system, so you can actually use or replace it. And be mindful, Canon got really burnt and roasted for this, simply because one of the prominent YouTuber used that printer, talked about TV shows. He went into hosting new shows and all that, and he was like, this printer is awesome, you can use that. And then after 4 years, again, he was a light user. If you are a heavy user, he would have found out early, but he was light user. 4 years after, randomly he found out that his printer is like, lol, I'm not gonna work. Now, of course, it was out of warranty, so he could not do much, but he looked into it. It's like, what exactly happened? Then turns out it had a maintenance pad at the back, but it was just a pad. It was just absorbing ink. Once the ink is like completely absorbed, basically the counter reaches that full mark. A printer is like, nope, nobody designed anything to do with it. It's like there was no logic in the printer firmware. It's like, okay, somebody, what if somebody swapped the pad? It's like no logic was there. So after that, Canon made the most amazing basically cassettes. You literally can just pull it out like this. I think they are so embarrassed by, and be mindful, this happened on national TV for them. So it was a big thing. So nowadays, thankfully, with Epson, Canon, and even Brother has the ugliest one, because you have to call their service technician to replace it. Not in every model, but many models do require that technician come and replace this. In S Pen and Canon, user replaceable. It was required. Enclosed paper cassette, this is awesome. And lightweight ADF on top, that's just a cherry on top. Be mindful, in my case, it got damaged during transit. This yellow gear, yellow or white, yeah, it came off. So I had to open it and then put it back in. Be mindful, use in Amazon, people will be like, dude, I got a whole printer, that box is like destroyed. I got a printer with literally broken glass on the scanner system. So I am like, minor inconvenience, and I opened it and fixed it. Be mindful, if you ever wanted to open it up, there's a latch here, it's very strong. You have to bend it a bit in order to open it. Then you can just fix this if you have this issue. So this is the hardware of this puppy. So let's start with top, scanning. So scanning, there are two PCFs for scanning. I have no idea why, but it is what it is. You need S1 Scan 2 and Scan Smart. Don't ask me why. So your printer has the ability to send a file to the cloud, as in like scan file to the cloud. In the cloud, you have options, whether you can send it to your email or you can send it to Google Drive or things of that nature. So like, why would you need that? Depending on your configuration, if you are scanning something at very high resolution, as in like 300 dpi or maybe even let's say 900 dpi or something like that, or 1200, God help you. At that point in time, the file size will be bigger than email attachment. So it has to go to Google Drive, so to say. So that's why the drives are also an option. So in those sort of scenario, if you can send it to the cloud, I have set it up and I have sent it, but I've never sent a like really huge file. It will take too long because the Ethernet connection is like 10 Mbps, 10 like is a small one. Like it's like it's not even gigabit. It's not even gigabyte. It's like 100 megabit connection. So 10 megabytes per second. It's super slow. I have no idea why the heck that slow networking was even available. So it can send to cloud, send to PC, but be mindful, PC, it will not work if you directly have the main app, that is Epson Scan 2, it will not work. It will say that you need Scan Smart. Once you have Scan Smart running in the background, then your computer can receive the files without any issue. I have no idea why. Document modes gives you all the function. Do not go into the photo mode for this printer. Let me be very clear. I'm pretty sure that mode is there for Epson's Perfection lineup. That is a dedicated basically scanner built for these puppies. That has actual hardware that goes up to 4800 DPI, or some goes to even 8000. So that's there. And be mindful, that's why it has that Hubrulu magic Hululu numbers. This one, as in document line, it only drops to 1200 DPI, which is the hardware. You go to photo mode, it drops to freaking 9600. And be mindful, photo mode is so stupid, it has automatic marquee, meaning it's gonna run a preview scan and then it's gonna select an area. And if that area is not the area you want, lol, it will not let you change it. Like you can just run previews again and again. It will not, it does not have marquee tool. Who came up with that? So, and be mindful, if you scan, like for some reason, you want to scan at like super high resolution, like 96, scan area becomes so small that is almost useless. And because you cannot select, there is no marquee tool, it will flat out refuse to work. So, really bad software design. So always use the documentation, and documentation allows you to go to 1200, and it does work with the basically automatic document feeder also. So there is no limitation there. It's just that photo mode should not be there. Again, I'm pretty sure it's built for that different lineup, but they were too lazy to block that option. Block, it should not be there. It should be like, software should be like, hey, what printer you detect? Oh, this printer does not have this function, disable it. It's like, that's just lazy. And then we come to the important aspect of naming. If you are in office or any place where you have to use these things a lot, you want a proper naming convention. Now, the easiest way to have the, just don't think about it and have a stable naming convention is date and time. Somehow they forgot that. It's like they have date and in one software you get proper human readable date time. So you have year, month, date. That's awesome. And it has underscore, so you can look at it and read it. It's human readable, but it does not have time after that, meaning it will only narrow down to that, and it has counter after that. Okay, but it has prefix. If you change the prefix, it messes up the alignment. That's why a file should, again, if you are talking about large throughput, it makes a big headache for you. And then we have another software, that is Epson Scan 2. It has time, basically add date, add hours, minute, second. Awesome. Somebody forgot that we are not programmers all, so it has no gaps. Only gap is there underscore when between basically date and time. And be mindful, time, for some reason seconds are not seconds, they are milliseconds. Dude, this is not a camera, it cannot shoot 10,000 FPS. Why? It's like these things show that nobody actually, sat down. It's like, hey, how would someone use it? Like, people, of course, if I give you this, you will just work around it. But it's one of those things that's like, I should not need to. There should be a suffix option or prefix. Again, give me an option, prefix or suffix. Date time, awesome, but give me time here. And like, why? It's like, it should be human readable. So there has to be underscore and dots at time. So that's how it's human readable. So you can look at it. Oh, so somebody can say, hey, didn't you scan let's say insurance companies, they have to scan a lot of documentation. They're like, hey, remember what you scanned at 1 p.m. at this date? You're like, date, time, done. You do not have to remember what is the serial number. So it's one of those things that irritates me to no end. It's like little things, man. And again, why do you need two software? Here's the funny part. If you use the scan smart scan and you go to edit setting, it will open up scan smart 2. What the hell? Why? So scanning, again, it does work. Can you actually scan negatives with it? Yes, you do not need backlight. I have no idea when does this technology happen, that nowadays almost all scanners can directly scan negatives, x-rays, again, necessary for medical insurance guys. All those things can be done without too much hassle. MRIs, you can scan all of those reflective documents without too much issue. Will it be as good as like professional system? Hell no. Like in this 35mm, you're gonna get something out of it. Like, you will figure out, like, let's say you have a roll of it and you want to figure out, is there any worth saving? Yeah, you can get that done. But do not expect like a proper scanner system. So scanning, I felt very disappointed by a limited number naming convention, and what the hell, who wrote those software system? Be mindful, do not ever touch basically the searchable PDF. The optical character recognition in this is, to put it politely, brain damage. So thou shall not give yourself brain damage. Do not ever activate. I am talking about printed files. It could not read printed files. So what about the printing part? Now, printing part, document printing, good. Now, this was another reason why did I trust S1, because a lot of homeschooler moms, they are buying this printer and they are printing whole books out of it. That's the only thing I ever needed to know. Like, is this a printer? Okay, got it. It's a printer. Is it a robust enough printer to actually print it? They are printing whole books out of it. Like there is no greater praise than that. Like you are printing whole books out of it. Done. Shut up, take money. Like that's the easiest what you call. And none of them were like paid. None of them were paid. They're like, yeah, this is the ink tank. I bought it. It's just printing book. Oh, ink did not disappear. I'm printing more. They were printing for their young children A4 books. For their medium children, they are putting A5 books. I was like, damn. That's how I knew this printer, unless I get a defective piece, it should be able to do some grunt work. So that's there, good. Duplex, good. Be mindful, there is one glitch or software limitation, which mind you, other people have told me that it is same with HP, Canon and every Tom, Dick and Harry else, is that if you activate the borderless mode in Windows, it will disable the basically duplex. So either you can have duplex or you can have borderless. Now it's not an issue for office work, but it does raise the question, why? It's like, again, the reason provided is generally if you are printing, let's say, borderless photos like this, it may use roller here to roll it back. Now I'm like, there's a simple solution. If somebody activates basically dual side printing and borderless, give a giant warning, hey, it will wait 10 seconds, let's say, to ink to dry out. As simple as that. 15 seconds, or maybe if you really don't want people to do it, 30 seconds. And here's the deal, these two chemistries are different. Dyes gives you very good color, but they dries very quickly. So dye you can handle, pigment you cannot. So pigment does take some time to dry out, but again, it's very quick. And be mindful, you are still doing it. So I'm hoping that it's just because of the roller, or the worst case scenario, which I'm reasonably sure it is the fact, nobody actually tested it. Can you actually do it? Because again, somebody had to print out, test it out, as in like from Epson side, and then it's like, okay, 5 seconds is not too much, then scale it up to, let's say, 8 seconds, and then like, hey, what if they are not in hot place like India, in cold place Canada, how much is going to take time to dry out and all that. So it's a frustrating thing, but again, most of the time it will not be an issue for you. But if it is an issue for you, I did tell you that. And most settings are available in the software app that you have to buy. But again, and buy as in like download, it's already there, free. You have print, scan, document capture. That document capture works better than the ORC that is there, OCR is there, copy and all that jazz. And it also has printhead killing, that's good. It also gives you ink notification and how much basically capacity is left in your maintenance box, which mind you, it's not a physical sensor there, it's just a counter. It's like counters maybe 50,000, it's like, okay, you have burnt through 10,000 of it. Be mindful, if you go into advanced Forte, it will ask you to install another app. Why? You have to install Epson basically creative print app that will give you that function where you can make collages and all that. So that's there. And I really said that this is a lazy software. It has CD and DVD. I personally want that CD and DVD printing because again, I'm the only one left who is actually doing optical backups of data, and I want to try that where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make up the photo backups. That's what I do. That's why I want that function. There are discs available that has inkjet printable surface. There are printers that have disk tray. You can put it, print it. It shows me there, but it's not for this model L6270. Unfortunately, it's not removed. So I got my hopes up. Again, it's just lazy. Think of this, like this will go there, it will become completely clean, elegant, but they were lazy. So again, two apps, why? And the reason why I did not make the basically video about this is this, because color space got messed up. Whenever you buy a printer or any equipment, be it a scanner, be it a camera, be it a monitor, be it a printer, they all have their own limitation, and the physical world has no limitation. So we created color space and color gamuts to deal with it. So there's a lot of conversion happening when you are taking a photo, and that photo file is going from your camera to your computer. There's a lot of conversion happening there. From your computer, that actual data state to your monitor, it's still getting converted. From that data state to printer, it's still getting converted. It always gets converted. Hopefully, it should always happen without any hassle. And again, we have spent almost 50 years at this point in time to figure those things out. And it does work most of the time. But sometimes, especially with Epson, and that's why people hate Epson, is like you may end up in a scenario where it's like something is messed up. It's not converting color space properly. And in my case, I got hyper magenta image. For example, I printed this flower basically. It's in my backyard, so I know the exact color. It was looking off, and unfortunately, you would say, I just looked at it like this and looked from monitor, and I'm like, wait a minute, these leaves are not black or like pinkish black. They're supposed to be green. The color is too off. Then I realized, then it went into a rabbit hole, what's happening. Then I realized a lot of people use this printer for sublimation printing because it does not have heat involved into the print head. It's not thermal printed, it's piezo, basically it's pushing it out. So inks are far more, delicately handled, so to say. So people use for basic sublimation, but that requires calibration. So they calibrate using this. If Windows has a color setting, color control, so to say, where you can confirm it. So after a lot of wasting paper, where I am wasting like whole A4 sheets, then I got the correct printer, where it's like, oh, green is actually looking green, and the yellow is actually, the row is supposed to be yellow, yellow is yellow, blue is blue. And be mindful, many people complain about like Epson never can print blue properly. Somehow the calibration is so off, they always print blue as purple. So it's one of those things. I had a lot of hassle, burned through a lot of photo paper, and finally this is the final setting that I did to fix it, where I have brightness to 12, contrast to 2, saturation to -2, yellow to 12, magenta to -15, and cyan to 10. That's how I got a setting. That's I'm like, okay, this is good. Now, does that mean I can print photos at top quality? Yes, I get good, awesome results, no problem. But I should not need to do this. Like I have like color mode to Adobe RGB, gamut to 2.2. Now be mindful, it will be different to every other people. How the heck mess up is happening, I do not know. There's a actual factual chance I can connect this to my old computer, that is Windows 10. It might just work without any hassle. It's one of those things, but it does happen too much to Epson printer. A lot of people complain about like even in the sublimation printer market scene, they're using, all of them are using Epson. Only 1 or 2 people I saw, and their only complaint was the colors were wrong. And then it hit me, colors are wrong. The conversion is getting messed up. I did not call the technician, and I detected this problem later than the Amazon return window. The reason I did not wanted to call a technician is I know the first thing they will do is like flushing, and that will just waste it. I know. And again, I do not blame them technicians. It's like nobody's going to train technician really, because again, it's going to cost a lot of money. So, but again, if I ever get frustrated, because it does create an issue where if I'm in document mode, I have to be in document mode. This basically system cannot be used for document. If I use that, black becomes grayish. So for that reason, if I'm printing document, I have to just, basically this is always in document mode. If I'm printing photos, then I have to send use this custom profile, so to say. So it's a minor thing. Be mindful. I can guarantee you this will not happen to 99% of you, but for that 1% who will suffer this, yes, it does happen. And yes, it also happens with HP and Canon, but they are much rarer. So, or it could be other thing that it happens as the same ratio, let's say 3% of all of them, but you sell so fewer of basically Canon and even fewer of HP, that it may be like evening out, so to say. But I just wanted you to be informed about it. I had to go through too much hassle, and I hate the software design. It's like, yeah, you have this software, click it, oh, please download another software. It's like, wow. So this is the printing part of it. So what's the verdict? So verdict is, I really wish they had a printer that had a nozzle that can be easily swappable by, again, I can do that same thing here, but I have to use screwdrivers. So the reason why you want this sort of option where you can just swap the print head, so to say, is because if you're not using it regularly, then it becomes a hassle. The ink's biggest weakness is heat, as in if it dries out, it jams the system. Nothing can be done about it. The only solution is you keep using it. If you keep using it regularly, you will not even notice it. The moment you stop using it, like for weeks or months, God help you. So at that point in time, having this sort of design, which is present in HP, Canon, if I'm not mistaken, even Brother also has this. Again, if I'm not mistaken, all of them are using thermal printing system. Basically, they have a heater that booms it, basically creates a lot of heat in water of that ink and then pushes it out. That's why sublimation printers generally don't go with this. They use S Pen because of that heat-free technology. Again, you can have ink that are fine-tuned for that, so that is not damaging too much, but generally people, if they want to do it, they do not want to use heat system. So this system is basically back in the days when we still had jet printers and companies were basically giving cancer to the people. They were like, Chinese people were like, hey, here's an ink tank that you can just jack in. So this is the exact same Chinese design incorporated to a proper system. This does give you the option. If you have a jam printer, you can open it out, plug it out, dunk it into, let's say, isopropyl alcohol, and then you can clean it out. So that is one thing that I really wished Epson had. I love the fact that Epson became a company that brought out ink tank. Awesome. Brought out this ink tank, basically keyed ink tank, brought out a tank that has maintenance box. That's awesome. This is just the final thing that I want. Just give me replaceable system. And this also means flat out, I'm ironically saying that if you really want the best of the best system, Canon has best, except their freaking user interface and the fact that they are idiotically expensive. And software is flat out not polished now. Be mindful, your software experience may be different with other vendors, but as far as I know, all other users that I have talked to, they're like, yeah, printer software equals GG, garbage. So why did I buy this? Basically, At that point in time, when I was doing the research, it had great set of feature. Basically, you can do this, you can do that, and I really wanted that front loading system because I live in a dusty area. It's a big hassle for me. I cannot afford the luxury of, oh, paper is on the side. And be mindful, there is a basically cyber cafe near me, and that people have to print out paper. They always keep the paper back into the box to make sure that it's not getting dusty and drying out and all that jazz. So having a proper place, awesome. Shut up, take money. So all those function available in such a low price, shut up, take money. And again, if I had a system where my color also worked, shut up, take money. So it's a good printer, good scanning quality, okay speed. Do not expect speed to be like damn fast. It's like, it's okay. It's not, you're not gonna make any world record. Ethernet is godsend. That's how my system is connected. There is no USB using. I'm just using Ethernet, and that's how you're supposed to be in office environment. You should never trust Wi-Fi of a goddamn printer. Trust the Wi-Fi that you are putting with, have access point and all that. So that's awesome. Be mindful. I do use email printing, so I do want my printer to be properly connected. And again, using Ethernet is far easier to secure than, and again, reliability and all that jazz. So that's awesome. OCR, I really am shocked how horrible it is. Like, dude, just use Google API. It's available. Use Google API. It's like genuinely bad. Like searchable PDF. Again, I would like your opinions on this. If you have, let's say, HP or Canon, do they have better optical character recognition? Because I was like shocked how bad it was. And I'm generally shocked. It's like, dude, you're giving a printer that can print on both sides. Why you're giving an automatic document feeder that can only scan on one? And I do get it. There are pro end models that have two scan elements. So paper goes like this, scans on both sides. Awesome, super fast. I get it. That's expensive. Be mindful from bill of material cost still can be done, but removing that, they should have done what HP did in this model. And be mindful, HP have discontinued this model. This was some like office jet system, and I'm pretty sure this function was like should not be available in this price. So I think they disconnected it. You can see it literally does the same thing that your printer does. You prints it out, pulls it back, put scans on the other side. So same hardware, and you can get amazing feature out of amazing feature out of it. So that I really wished. Like this would make S1 genuinely good. Having ADF would actually, duplex ADF would be like, bro, you have a duplex printer. Duplex ADF, come on. It's one of those things. I am happy that it has Ethernet. That's what's like, I've thought like, would I use it? I'm like, yes, I will use it. So that's good. Great feature set. Again, paper cassette, and the fact that I have printed so many, I can't show you because most of them are my family photos. But like, you get the point. Like I have printed a lot. So, and I'm still not worried about ink because it had only gone down a little bit. So it's good. Flat out, it's a good system. I just wish I did not have that divorce issue of color space. But again, people have told me that it happens almost everything. So the verdict is, it's a good system. For office work, I can easily see shut up, take money, and just use it. Ethernet, emails, client, paper cassette, automatic document feeder, basic one, but at least automatic document feeder, and maintenance box you can actually rely. That means you can use it for years to come. And again, what about print head jamming? Of course, it will happen if you do not use it regularly. At that point in time, instead of just doing this, you have to use screwdrivers. It can be done. It's just a bit of hassle, so to say. So it's a good system. I'm not too upset about buying this. I'm like, okay. I did not know like how I hate camera companies is like they never crossed 1990s technology. Printers were the same. I did not knew it. The Ethernet jack on this puppy, not joking, is 10 Mbps. Why? And be mindful, it can scan at 1200 dpi. The files are huge. So at 1200 dpi, that may be the limiting factor. Or maybe the scanner is so slow, it's like, yeah, we cannot actually send more data than that. So I do find all these sort of equipments to be like, have you ever crossed 1990? Try 2010. Not even 2020, try 2010. So this was my presentation on basically this puppy. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.